Hi guys, how you going? Campbell here from Autodidactic channel. Hope you're having an amazing day. As always guys, autodidactic means to be self-educated, and in this world we all need to be self-educated because they are feeding us lies about our story, and today we're going to talk about one of them. Today we're going to delve into the Moors. Now the Moors are the people who were inhabiting, we're told, Spain and Northern Africa, and they were basically from Islamic descent. But when you look into this, the Moors are basically the people who are more melanated, is that how I say it? Our darker skinned friends. And we're told that basically they were in Spain, but as far as Europe, they were really just there as slaves that arrived in the 1400s, and that's really what their position in Europe was until, recently. But then it doesn't really take much looking, guys. When you start to look into this, it's so provably true that the story we're given, his story, is just a complete made-up fabrication, and it's worse than that. They have really destroyed, a once fine and amazing culture, and they've denigrated the people, and by doing this they've introduced things into our culture like racism to divide us. So this video is not about color, it's not about race. The main point I want to make before I get into this is this control system is led by a few, the few that remain nameless. We don't know who they are. We know a lot of their puppets, but the people pulling the strings at the top, we really don't know who they are. And they're playing a game with us, and they are fighting us against each other. And one of their biggest draw cards is race. And they're doing this to divide us. And you can see what it's doing to our society, but the main reason is if we're not, if we're fighting with each other, we're not looking for them. We're not asking the bigger questions of what is going on and who is really the cause, because we think we found the cause and the problem. But that is just a story that has been fed to us. And it wasn't that long ago that we had an integrated society, fully integrated. There was no sort of caste systems. There was no different kind of race, anything. Racism was a made-up word in the 1800s. I'll show you that during this film. And so, yeah, our history has been changed. They have used it to divide us, and what they have done is quite amazing and just disgraceful. I don't know how else to say it. Just disgraceful. Alright guys, so let's get into this. Today we're going to talk about the Moors. So who were the Moors? Or more importantly, what is the story we've been given about who the Moors are? So we're here on Encyclopedia Britannica under the Moors, Moor people. Moor, in English usage, is a Moroccan or formerly a member of the Muslim population of what is now Spain and Portugal, of mixed Arab, Spanish and Amazi origins, which is Berber, which is very interesting. The Moors created the Arab Andalusian civilization and subsequently settled as refugees in North Africa between the 11th and 17th centuries, by extension corresponding to the Spanish Moro. The term occasionally denotes any Muslim in general, as in the case of the Moors of Sri Lanka or the Philippines. The word derives from the Latin term Moorus, first used by the Romans to denote an inhabitant of the Roman province of Mauritania, comprising the western portion of present-day Algeria and the northeastern portion of present-day Morocco. So they're centering them all as much as they can in Africa, northern Africa. Now, the term is of little use in describing the ethnic characteristics of any groups, ancient or modern, from the Middle Ages to the 17th century. However, Europeans depicted Moors as being black, swarthy, or tawny in skin colour. Othello from Shakespeare's Moor of Venice comes to mind. Europeans designated Muslims of any other complexion as white Moors. Despite the fact that the population in most parts of North Africa differs little in physical appearance from that of Southern Europe, in Morocco, for example, red and blonde hair are relatively common. Okay, so here we have a short history of Moorish influence in Europe. So let's see what they say. In medieval Europe, Muslims were commonly known as Moors. So it's the same kind of story. Since initially most of the Moors coming into Europe were from Africa, the term came to be associated with African Muslims. But later on, the term Moors was used for Arabs, and during the European colonization of Asia, identities like Ceylon Moors, Indian Moors, etc. also came into existence. The Moorish conquest of Western Europe began in the 8th century AD. During the early decades of this period, Moors crossed the Strait of Gibraltar and started their conquest on the Iberian Peninsula. It was a Berber commander named Tariq bin Ziyad who led the attack. Berbers are indigenous North African tribes. During this period, Iberia was a part of a Hispanic kingdom ruled by the Visigoths. For the next 8 years, Tariq led a military campaign that brought the vast majority of the Iberian Peninsula under Moorish rule. This served as the basis of a series of attacks against Europe over the next few centuries. The Moors kept large parts of Spain under their control for about 8 centuries between AD 711 and around 1492. This had a lasting impact on Spain. Islamic architecture and literature came to dominate Spanish life, the effects of which are still visible today. Spain's greatest author, Miguel de Cervantes, used a Moorish character to narrate the story of the central character in his famous book Don Quixote. Is that how I say that? Quixote? Okay, so same kind of story there, bit more information, and now it's saying basically that the Moors were a group of people that came in from Africa and started to try and take over Europe. Now, I just want to hit this bit as well. Interesting facts about Moors. During its peak, Cordova, the center of Moorish territory in Spain, was the most modern city in all of Europe. The streets were well paved and the pedestrians could walk on the raised sidewalks. At night time, several streets were often illuminated with lamps. Cities like London or Paris featured paved streets and lamps only centuries later. Cordova also boasted about 900 public baths. The Moors created a huge impact in the field of education. Europe at the time only had 2 prominent universities, but within the Moorish territory of Spain alone, almost 17 universities existed. Education was usually available to all. During the 10th and 11th centuries, Moorish Spain also had almost 70 libraries. This was at a time when public libraries in Europe were non-existent. The effort to build libraries and institutions of higher learning in Moorish Spain was largely led by the members of the Umayyad dynasty, who wanted to be perceived as intellectual rivals to the Abbasids in Baghdad. The Arabic number system replaced Roman numerals and introduced a new system of mathematical calculation in the region. Agriculture under the Moors underwent huge development. Many new crops like sugarcane, apricots, oranges, lemon, ginger, peaches, pomegranates, cotton, saffron, etc. were introduced. Prior to the arrival of the Moors, native farmers used the Roman irrigation system. Moorish influence led to the establishment of a large number of wells, reservoirs, and canals that redirected water from one region to the other. As a result, agriculture production in the region surged. Okay, so there we have a slightly different picture. Okay, now the we have a picture of Spain, which they concede, or they tell us, was the homeland of the Moors. It was obviously, the sort of stronghold, I guess, of their culture. And you can just see how advanced it was to the rest of Europe. They were highly educated. They had good technology. They had paved streets. They had lights. They had baths. They call them 900 public baths. Now, that begs the question, is this where baths came from? Because the Roman, we all know the Roman Empire, that didn't exist, especially not in the way that we've been told that it has. So the Moorish people, and the other thing to realize here is they kind of say, well, they just sort of came out of northern Africa and they just, tried to invade people, North African tribes. But then, and this is during the 10th and 11th century. So, I mean, seriously, guys, this just does not make sense. Okay, the Moorish conquest of Europe began in the 8th century. Okay, it was a Berber commander named Tariq Zinyad who led the attack of Berbers. Berbers are indigenous North African tribes. So they're trying to give us the image that they were tribal people, nomadic people, living in small huts or tents with no technology, definitely nothing like paved roads or anything. But then, by the 10th and 11th centuries, it's like less than 200 years. They've got paved roads. They've got they've got 17 universities, 70 libraries. Now, just without going into the fact that that's obviously signs of a highly educated society. I mean, just the ability to build those buildings is big. And I'll show you a bit more of the Moorish, architecture and their art. You'll notice it. It's basically what we're told is, Arabic or Islamic art. That seems to be Moorish. As far as I can tell, that is actually Moorish art. And all the, what we call, the Islamic people and everything, they are the Moors. And that's why Islamic art is Moorish art. Okay, let's keep going. So I just wanted to show you some of the universities that are in what is now Spain. So we have the University of Murcia. Obviously, these are all Spanish names, so I doubt very much that these are the original names. But the University of Murcia is the main university, 38,000 students. It's the largest university in Murcia. It's the third oldest university in Spain after the University of Salamanca, 1218 AD, and the University of Valladolid, 1241. And the 13th oldest in the world. The University of Murcia was established in 1272 by the King Alfonso X of Castile, under the Crown of Castile. Okay, so this one, 1200s, and then it just sort of goes into a bit of the history. You've got a few pictures here, but it really goes into, what it is now. This is our history, 2 lines. The first University of Murcia was founded as the Universitas Studiorum Murciana by Alfonso X of Castile around 1272. The current modern University of Murcia was founded in 1915, so it's now it's got 3 campuses basically. So the original was built 1272, and then they've just built other campuses and put them under the same name basically. We have the University of Valladolid, public university in the city of Valladolid. It's autonomous region of Castile and Leon in Spain. So these words, Castile and Leon, you'll hear a bit more about. Leon is like a dynasty. I think Castile, that they both are just like surname dynasty names. Established in the 13th century, is one of the oldest universities in the world. Blah blah blah. History. Now we get 3 lines. The University of Valladolid is a Spanish public university founded in 1241 as removal of studies at the University of Palencia, founded by Alfonso VIII of Castile. Between 1208 and 1212, it is responsible for teaching higher education in 7 campuses. Blah, blah, blah. University of Salamanca. Founded 1134. Okay, it's in Castile and Leon, and given the royal charter of foundation by King Alfonso IX in 1218. So here's just a few pics of these universities. This is the interior. This is Salamanca, I'm pretty sure. As you can see, this is a library. Look at the architecture of these roofs. Now this was built in the 1200s. And look at these books. What do you reckon is in these books? I mean, that is a cool library. I would like to get in there. Now this is, I believe it's the same university. It's definitely one of the 3. Sorry, I haven't marked them. But you can see the windows along this one. Obviously we've got perfect symmetry like we always do, and we've got windows going into the ground. Now, as you can see, this is fairly familiar architecture. This one looks a bit different. I mean, we still have the columns, we still have the symmetry, we've still got the porticos and things, but it's just got, I'm not sure if it's been, refaced, had a new facade put on it. But that's definitely, what we would think of as old world Tartarian architecture. And here's the third one. So they're all old world buildings. This again has got the symmetry and the windows going straight into the ground. The massive pillars, whoops, the stairs that go up to the front door. But just look at the craftsmanship. So this is 1200. These are Berber buildings, guys. Berber? Sorry. These are Moor buildings, guys. Built by the Moors in the 1200s, we're told. Could be much older. This is the interior. Now this is the Moor kind of architecture. Now obviously it looks, we've been told this is Islamic. Now this is in Spain, guys. Okay. Now obviously Spain is what they used to call the Iberian Peninsula. And when you look into history, they do say that it has got a very long Moor history there. So this is all Moor architecture. This is the kind of stuff they were building before the reset and the cataclysm. I mean, and these are not small buildings. Look at them. Again, see the size of the people, size of the doors, and you can see that just the work that's gone into this. I mean, look at this wall alone. It's just covered. It's almost like reminiscent of an Indian temple. It's got so much stuff on it. How do you suppose they did that in the 1200s? And remember, guys, the story that we're given is that these people, the Moors, were basically just tribes people from northern Africa. So it's quite a jump, isn't it? So history is just, it's ridiculous. It just doesn't make sense at all. It's clearly people have just made up random stories and thrown them all in. It doesn't make sense. There's no congruity. But the way they get away with it is they just, it's like that phrase attributed to Goebbels, you tell a lie often enough and people believe it. This is what they've done. They just keep rabbiting on the same crap. But this is these universities built by the Moors that we heard about. This was in all around the sort of 10, 11, 1200s. Alright, so this is Alfonso IX of Leon. He was the king who started one of the University of Salamanca in 1212. So it says here, 15th of August 1171 to 24th September 1230, King of Leon and Galicia. From the death of his father, Ferdinand II, in 1118 until his own death. So he succeeded his father He took steps towards modernising and democratising his dominion and founded the University of Salamanca in 1212. In 1188 he was summoned the first parliament reflecting the fullest representation of citizenry ever seen in Western Europe, the Court of Lyon. I shall just read that to you again. In 1188 he summoned the first parliament reflecting the fullest representation of citizenry ever seen in Western Europe. So basically what that says is he was listening to the people. He was a ruler for the people. Okay, let that sink in. Why do you think they got rid of this? Why do you think the parasites saw, a culture like this as something they wanted to destroy? He took part in the work of the reconquest, conquering the area of Extremadura, blah, blah, blah. He was born into the Zamora. He was the only son of a king. So this is a lineage, a dynasty of kings and queens, because they didn't discriminate back then. And they were ruling Spain, and they were building universities. He was listening to the people, letting them have their say in his court. And obviously this guy looks like a pretty good king. This is just a bit about what happened in his reign. Basically, what they like to talk about, war, the scuffles he had. But what I want to show you is this picture. This is Alfonso IX, depiction at the Tumbo Cartulary of the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela, King of Leon and Galicia. Okay, so that's him. Predecessor Ferdinand II. So this is Alfonso IX. Okay, I want you to remember that picture. We're just going to have a quick look here at Ramiro II of Leon. Now, Ramiro, he founded one of the other universities. I think, sorry, he didn't. He was earlier. So Ramiro II, son of Ordono II, was king of Leon from 931 until his death. Okay, initially king of a lesser kingdom, he gained the crown of Leon and Galicia after supplanting his brother Alfonso IV and cousin Froles in 931. Blah, blah, blah. He actively campaigned against the Moors, okay? Alright, guys. You want to see lies? Let's get into this. He actively campaigned against the Moors, who referred to him as the devil. Due to his ferocity and fervour in battle, he defeated the hosts of the Umayyad Caliph. Now, caliphs are basically what they call, Arab Islamic dynasties. At the Battle of Salamanca, 939, when shortly before his death, he was forced by his sons to abdicate. Okay, so they're saying he was a bad king. He was running around killing everyone. Okay, now this was in the story that we get. It says that the Moors invaded the Iberian Peninsula, which is Spain, around the 800-900s. So this would have been fairly soon after. But then, as we see, a couple of hundred years later, we have those massive buildings, those universities. So there's something wrong with that story. If they're coming in from as tribesmen, as we're told, how did they progress that fast in 200 years? But there is more to this story, guys. I want you to have a look at this picture. King of Leon, Ramiro II. Alright, so this is him. This is Alfonso II. This is a picture. As you can see, this is a photo of a very old image. This looks, around the 800-900s, just by the way the art's done. This is also King Alfonso. Now, I did search. This is the best picture I could kind of get. But can you see his face there? I'm just sort of trying to show you something. Okay, so this is King Alfonso II, right? Okay, this is him. This is him. And this is him, guys. I kid you not. This is obviously a Renaissance type painting, so this would have been done 1400, so we're talking, 400 or 500 years after the event. And do you notice anything different there, guys? I mean, do I have to say this? This guy's a Moor. So why they say he was out killing Moors doesn't make sense, does it? This guy, this is the original picture. He is a Moor. This guy is not a Moor. This is rebranding at its worst. This is, sorry, who is that? That's Ramiro II. Okay, this is Ramiro II. This is Ramiro II in the Renaissance. And there he is again. Do you see anything going on here, guys? This is a Moor. Clearly, that is a Moor. That clearly is not a Moor. That they've... I mean, I found this. I've got more of these guys. I've got quite a few more of these kind of pictures. I found this up there, and it just blew my mind. It's all out there. It's in front of us, guys. They've literally wiped the Moors from history, and I mean they've repainted everything. They've just put their own history on top. They went through in the Renaissance, which is something that I will look into because that is definitely tied into this. And, we should call the Renaissance the rebranding because that's what it was. That's why all these paintings came out. Rebranding everything in the image that they wanted it to be, in the story that they wanted to be told, in the vernacular that suited them. Okay, let's keep going. And just so that you can see what I'm talking about, guys, this is just a Google search under images, Alfonso IX of Leon. As you can see, here is the original statue. But this is Alfonso, this is Alfonso, this is Alfonso, this is Alfonso. I kid you not, guys. Alfonso IX of Leon. Alright, Alfonso IX of Leon. Alfonso IX of Leon. Look at them all. They've gone out of their way to make sure that there's just so many more images of him as a white man. Now look at this coin. What do you reckon? More? Okay, Alfonso, look at this double-headed eagle. Okay, this is a text about him that's saying Alfonso II. That's a Tartarian double-headed eagle. So this, oh my God, the deception is just, I can't find it. Okay, I'm going to have to look. Oh. Alright, yeah, my mind's just turning to jelly at the moment, guys, with all this stuff. This is the other guy, Ramiro II of Leon. As we saw, this is him, in the thousands, or probably around when he was actually ruling. There's a few of them. And then this is him. They've even built statues and stuff. Ramiro II. Ramiro II. What's this? Something. And then we go here, Ramiro II. Original picture. There it is again. So what's happening? I don't even have to say what's happening. You can see what's happened here. Even these, they've even tried to recreate, old-ish looking pictures And I'm going to make some more video. I'll show you where they actually make copies of the pictures, but the people are different colours. This is what's going on, guys. This is what is going on. So, just to finish off with, this part, obviously I'm going to have to make some more videos on this. So this is Libya. Now I was just thinking about, the Moors, and we have obviously in that region they're talking about, Northern Africa, Spain as their sort of stronghold, I guess, that there's their cultural centre. And if you look around that area, we have places like Morocco, Mauritius, all these types of areas. And then I thought, well, what does Libya stand for? So I looked up Libya. Libya. Libya, officially the state of Libya is a country in the Maghreb region of northern Africa, bordered by the Mediterranean Sea to the north, Egypt to the east, and the Sudan to the southeast, Chad to the south, and Niger to the southwest, Algeria to the west, and Tunisia to the northwest. Lots of countries. The sovereign state is made of 3 historical regions with almost an area of 1.8 million square metres. Okay, Libya has been inhabited by Berbers. Now this symbol, you see this symbol everywhere. This is in cave paintings. Since the late Bronze Age. Okay, so here's the story. Okay, so the Moors are they're trying to tell us are the natural inhabitants of northern Africa, and they've come in and invaded Spain and bits of Europe. And clearly it says in the 800s they were, I've forgotten what the word was, but basically they were like villages. They didn't have technology. They were just villagers coming up from Africa, is the story we're given. Now Libya, it says here that, since the late Bronze Age, the Berbers. Now the late Bronze Age, if you look into history, that's, a couple thousand years ago at least, Bronze Age. I think that's like 3,000 years, 2000 BC or something. Libya has been inhabited since then, so thousands of years. The Phoenicians established trading routes in Libya, Greek. So it jumps from there. Basically what they're trying to say is the Berbers are the Moors. That's what they're trying to say here. Libya has been inhabited by the Berbers. Okay, so it's trying to say that the people who inhabited Libya were the Berbers, but as we've seen previously, they tell us that the Moors and the tribes of the Moors came out of North Africa. So they're basically trying to tell us that these are the same people, is what I'm trying to say. And then after that, it jumps to the Phoenicians. So we jump up, up into the sort of BC. We jump up a couple of thousand years, and then we're up into the 700s, the Vandals, the Goths, the Visigoths, all this kind of stuff, all the war that they like to tell us about the war. So this is just all war crap. Okay, so Libya has been inhabited by the Berbers. Okay, the Berbers. The Berbers or Amazighs are an ethnic group of several nations, mostly indigenous to North Africa and some parts of West Africa. Berbers constitute the populations of Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Mauritania, Malta, Niger, and small parts of Western Egypt. Again, this symbol is everywhere. I can just see it out of the corner of my eye there. Okay, so this is what they're telling us. Okay, they're telling us the Berbers, Northern Africa. Okay, that's where they come from. Okay, the Berbers come from Northern Africa. That's what they're telling us. So the story they're trying to tell us is that these are the same people. So let's have a look at some Berbers. Okay. These are Berbers, guys. These are Berbers. This is a Berber. This is a Berber. And you can trace this tattooing back as well. And see this kind of what we might associate with that sort of gypsy kind of outfit, this kind of the coin look. It's big fashion. They all do it. This is a Berber back in the day. Berber. Now see how they all have a similar dress? And see how the Moors here, these are Moors, these are Berbers. But they're mixing everything up. Okay? So this is, you can see that the fashion is different. Like the Berbers are all wearing a completely different kind of fashion. I mean, sorry, the Moors to the Berbers. So this is how they play with us. This is how they're messing up history. So not only did the Berbers, the white people, inhabit Africa, and it told us here, since the Bronze Age, it looks like they were white. Now, that means the Moors, where are the Moors? Is everything being flipped over? Are the Moors actually the inhabitants of places more like the Americas and Europe, and white people are from Africa? I mean, you want to turn this thing on its head? Look at this. This is a Berber. See the style. See the fashion. This is a Moor. See the fashion. Can you see this? The tattooing. This is Berber. Tattoo. See, there it is there. See it? Moor. Berber. Berbers. These are all native inhabitants in North Africa living there now, guys. They just don't want you to see this stuff. My life is a Berber, okay? And again, look at the fashion. Moors. Kids. Berbers. Can you see these guys, what's happening here, what they've done? Yeah, this is the Berber flag. Have you ever been told this before? Were you taught this at school? Guys, they're flipping everything upside down. They're changing our heritage. Well, they have. They've flipped, they've taken us and moved us around countries. Now, we know that this has been happening. We've got evidence of orphan trades and all this kind of stuff, but this has been happening on a much, much bigger scale than we ever thought was going on. The whole slave trade is just a cover-up. It's just a facade for what was going on underneath, which was basically shipping native peoples from their homelands to different lands and then telling them that they were native to where the new place they were put, changing languages, changing traditions, destroying culture, heritage and history. And another thing, which I'll show more in sort of future videos, is names, guys. Names. You look at these elites who are running the show, they can trace their heritage and their families back thousands of years. They can. We can't. We can go back maybe to the 1500s, and then it all stops because they've chopped up our history, our ancestry. They've changed all the names. So all our surnames have been changed. This is provable. This all came out in the 1600s when you get names like Murphy, which means potato. So all potato farmers were Murphys. You get things like Goldsmith as a surname, Silversmith as a surname, Blacksmith, Black, and Smith, like Cooper. Cooper is, people who made barrels. So this is what they were doing. They just changed all the names, guys. They changed all the names, told you were someone different, put you in a different place. It's happened to all of us. And this is the result. We now have these people who are Berbers who are all throughout Africa. But we don't get told about them. And we also have the Moors. Here's an old Berber lady. Look at all the tats. So there you go, guys. I'm going to leave it there. I'm blowing my own mind just looking at this stuff. I hope you found some interesting stuff in there, guys. Please leave me a like, give me a comment, let me know what you think about all this. Now, again, this is all about our story, guys. This is all about our unity. We are one. We always were, and it's the parasites that have come in and put the division of racism in there and basically destroyed our heritage, so we don't know who we are. And as Graham Hancock says, we are now a species with amnesia. Okay, yeah, leave me a comment, guys. There's also merch down there, Autodidactic shirts, hats, etc. So grab some, show the world it's time to be self-educated, and his story is not our story. Thanks for spending some time with me. Have an amazing day, and I'm just going to throw up a few more pictures at the end if you want to check around. Stay around and check them out. Okay, guys, catch you on the next upload. Bye for now.
Darya Sharana